Good evening. I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. Last week was Boston. This week is understanding the Boston attack. We will address this in several pieces, but right now, a puzzle piece that fell on the floor today, and if you pick it up and put it on the table, you say, where does this go? What we have now is a report from Canada. This is very incomplete, and we'll talk about it all this evening. A report pointing to two young men, or two men, they have names, who have been arrested, detained by Canadian authorities after a year of watching them very carefully. The question here is, what were they up to? The puzzle right now, and it's early, and I will repeat this week what I repeated last week. The first three reports are always wrong in war. Right now, what we have is the two young men might have been involved in a plot against the United States in some fashion against a railroad or a bridge. It's very incomplete, and that's why I'm pleased to welcome Tom Joscelyn and Bill Roggio, the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. We're going to fit all these puzzle pieces together, much like you have a jigsaw puzzle where it's all the same fall foliage and they're all ablaze. And how does this fit with that, because they're the same color, and can you turn the lights up in the room? You've all put those puzzles together. That's what we're doing now. There's no rush. We have all summer. The puzzles are on the cardboard table. Tom, a very good evening to you. I start with your report at Long War Journal right now, and you can all read it for yourself. I urge you to. Dagestan, a jihadist group in Dagestan, going by the name of Vilayat Dagestan, have commented upon the Boston attack, the Tsarnaev brothers. What have they said? Who are they? Good evening to you, Tom.
Good evening, John. It's a curious statement, I would say, that the Vilayat Dagestan is part of the Islamic Caucasus Emirate, which is an al-Qaeda-linked group operating throughout the North Caucasus, and really was reorganized to carry forward al-Qaeda's banner in the North Caucasus. Vilayat Dagestan commented on the Boston Marathon bombings because the older brother of the pair that were responsible for the bombings, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, actually posted some videos related to Vilayat Dagestan on his YouTube page. And there's an inquiry ongoing as to his connections with the Islamic Caucasus Emirate and their sort of affiliated members inside Dagestan. So this prompted a statement from this group in Dagestan, which basically says that their war is with Russia, not with the United States. The media should stop speculating about Tamerlan Tsarnaev's connections to the Islamic Caucasus Emirate, and that really you should be looking at Russia's accountability or responsibility for this attack. What's interesting about the statement is it doesn't say that they didn't know Tamerlan Tsarnaev or deny any connection to him. In fact, they don't do that at all. They don't deny any connection to the Boston bombings either. They basically try and frame this as a way of saying the real problem here is Russia, not us. Now, that doesn't mean that they're involved, of course, or that he had any substantive ties to the group, the Boston bomber, but it's certainly curious. Makhachkala is the capital of Dagestan. I know it sounds like we're making this up, that it's some kind of Jules Verne thriller. No, there is a Dagestan. It's on the shores of the Caspian Sea. Chechnya, which is what the Tsarnaev family identifies itself to be, ethnic Chechens, is a piece inside the embrace of Dagestan. This is North Caucasus. Azerbaijan to the south, Georgia to the west, Chechnya and Dagestan fitted together on the Caspian Sea, the oil-rich Caspian Sea. And this region has been in revolt from the Russian Empire since at least the 18th century, when it was conquered by the Tsar, or the 1940s when Stalin abused the people of the North Caucasus and deported them, leading to mass death into the Gulag. That is how there was a Chechen ethnic community in Kyrgyzstan, which is way to the east on the China border. That's why they were there. They fled there or were driven there by the Gulag. The North Caucasus is what generally understood to be the resistance. And Tom, when he refers to the Emirate of the Caucasus, is a new organization over these last years that is in active resistance to Vladimir Putin. The man who made the phone call
last Friday to sympathize, to offer his condolences for the Boston attack to the President of the United States. There is a war, and it's more than just the Caucasus. Bill Roggio joins us. Bill, you have a fresh report of a claim of a kill of an al-Qaeda officer in Pakistan. Who is he?
Good evening, John. Yes, this is Abdullah al-Adam is his name, a longtime al-Qaeda operative who served under some top al-Qaeda leaders, including Abu Zubaydah, Ati Abdul al-Rahman, who was the general manager, killed in a drone strike, and he also claims to have spent time and been an acquaintance or a friend of Zarqawi, the former leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq. The report came from two jihadists on a Twitter feed, so it's not an official claim of death, but it is interesting. We are starting to see more and more of these social media claims. Some of them wind up being correct. Some of them wind up being false. We're in that situation right now with Said al-Shiri. We're not sure if he's really dead or alive, and there was a report that he was dead, and then a report on Twitter that he's alive. So it's never confirmed until al-Qaeda actually issues that martyrdom statement. He's basically served as al-Qaeda's internal security and intelligence chief. Again, he's one of these guys who nobody knows the name of. He's not a household name, but is the guys that makes al-Qaeda tick. And these are, when the administration wants to claim al-Qaeda's dead, when you look at the fact that guys like Abdullah al-Adam are still around, you have to really question those claims.
Bill, a drone strike? Do we think that's and it was several days ago? Do we know when?
They said he died on April 20th. There was no drone strikes reported in Pakistan. That doesn't mean one didn't occur. It just means it wasn't reported.
All right. We have a death in Pakistan of an al-Qaeda officer, possible drone strike. Very inexact at this point. Will we get any clarity from our side?
I asked around people involved in the program, and they're in a wait-and-see mode. They said they're aware of the reports, but they can either confirm or deny. It's difficult to gather intelligence.
Right.
They often don't know the results for days or weeks after, and sometimes they don't even know until al-Qaeda issues that statement.
Tom, two suspects arrested and charged by Canadian authorities within these last hours, allegedly planning an attack on a passenger train in the Greater Toronto area. Their names, Cheheb Essegair and Raid Jasser. Could be anything. The first name, Essegair, sounds to me not Middle Eastern. Sounds something in the region of sort of Europe or the Balkans. What do we know about the attempted plot? And the Canadians are saying they've watched them for some time.
Yeah, you led in this segment by saying in the fog of war, the first three reports are always wrong. We should take everything with a grain of salt, and that's exactly sound and sage advice. I'd say in this case, what's interesting to me is that the Canadians have been following these guys for a while, and they've come out. These are the official, top officials in the Canadian Royal Canadian Mounted Police and others have come out with very strong statements saying that these two were involved in an al-Qaeda-directed plot, and it's the first al-Qaeda-directed plot against Canada since 9/11 that they've uncovered. Now, what's even more interesting is that they're saying that this al-Qaeda direction came from inside Iran. There was actually al-Qaeda leaders inside Iran who were directing these two and supporting their operations. They plan to basically derail a train that was traveling from New York to Toronto, according to these reports. And one version of the plot that they had considered was to derail the train over this bridge, I guess, going over the Niagara Falls. And the idea was to basically cause as much havoc as they could there, to basically upset the economy and kill as many people as they could. Now, of course, how far along they were in actually coming, in conceiving this plot and actually to make it happen is really not known. Canadian authorities have said there was no imminent threat, so this wasn't something that they were about to do tomorrow. However, it's something they've been tracking these guys for a while, and they tie them directly to al-Qaeda.
Directly to al-Qaeda and Iran. That qualifies, and we'll discuss it again, and we'll discuss it later on tonight, as an example of what in the Cold War, once upon a time, would have been called a sleeper cell, a cell that you ignite upon a command. And the Canadian authorities are making the link from the two young men now in custody to al-Qaeda, and from al-Qaeda to Iran. If you're surprised by that linkage, don't be. Tom Joscelyn and Bill Roggio for the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy's Long War Journal have long made the linkage between Tehran and the al-Qaeda elements in the Ummah and attacks on Europe and America. We'll be back with more drone strikes, this time in another part of the conflict zone, Yemen. I'm John Batchelor.